Good evening, everyone. We'll call the special meeting of the Colonial School Board of Education to order. I will lead the Pledge of Allegiance this evening, if we all will, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, our agenda this evening is very simple. We have a tax warrant report and request by Ms. Falcon. So at this point in time, Ms. Falcon, I'll turn the meeting over to you.
All right, thank you, Mr. Laws, and good evening, Colonial Nation. I'm going to go ahead and start sharing my screen to do the fiscal year 22 tax rate recommendation. So just to go over.
Okay, excuse me 1 minute, Emily. For everyone's record, Mr. McGee and Ms. Faircloth has joined us as well.
Okay, thank you. So we do this as an annual process every year. The Board of Education has the responsibility to vote on the tax rate. We did actually review this with the Finance Oversight Committee just earlier this evening, and they have voted to recommend approval of the rate that I'm going to put forward to you tonight. This is due to Newcastle County by the second Thursday, which is the reason we needed to have this meeting in advance of the regularly scheduled board meeting, because our regularly scheduled board meeting would be after the second Thursday due to a calendar anomaly. So, and then the tax bills are obviously prepared by the county and go out to our taxpayers and are due by September 30th for the fiscal year. So just to do a really quick overview of the tax rate, it looks at pennies per $100 of assessed value. So if you look at your assessed value, that's how that calculation goes. There are 4 components to the tax rate. I'll go over each of them, but each component has its own separate account or appropriation, and there's specific uses for each type. Right now, based on the assessed value of properties in Colonial, each penny on the tax rate raises just under $309,000. So our current expense, excuse me, that is basically our general operating budget. We can use that money for anything except to pay off bonds or to purchase property. Right now, that rate is at 1.586 cents per $100 of assessed value. It can only be increased through a referendum. We have not had one of those for this year, so there is no recommended for FY22. The debt service rate, this is basically, I call it our credit card payment on our major capital improvement projects. So we take out bonds to fund major capital construction projects, and then over time we pay that debt off. And the payment of that debt is our debt service. Because we have not gone out to referendum for any major capital projects that have been approved in quite some time, the rate is coming down as we pay off debt that was issued years ago. So based on the payment schedule that we have for FY22, I'm recommending a 2.5 cent decrease from last year because we're just, our debt payments are going down and we're not going to need those additional dollars. So that would be a decrease being recommended there. The minor capital improvement or MCI or match tax is the third component. It does, as it says here, provides a match for certain state appropriations. There were some changes this year. K-3 basic special education funding was moved from a block grant into, there was a piece of legislation passed, and that will now become part of our unit structure. So the matching ability for those funds has been removed. We're increasing the amount that's coming for our opportunity funding as a result of the lawsuit that was filed. There's an increasing investment there. So that match is going to be increasing. And you can see some of the other, programs that are part of the match tax component, and the ones with asterisks, as stated, the state funding has been eliminated in previous budgets, but we're allowed to continue the local match to keep the programming going. So on the match tax, again, I've updated the budgets to reflect the current authority that's been given for FY22. And like I said, the opportunity fund allocation is increasing. I am recommending that we increase the rate by a half a penny to allow us to fully maximize the opportunity fund investment. So that is part of what I'm putting forward this evening. And then tuition, again, this is to help support the cost of our special education students that have intensive or complex needs or are part of our pre-K program. It supports a variety of different programs that you see listed here, excuse me. For FY22, while the need continues to grow, we are looking at this very strategically, and we are looking at keeping it at 37.2 cents for FY22. We think that we are able to manage that. We've been obviously, increasing the collaboration that we've been doing and making sure that we're prioritizing appropriately so we can keep that stable for our taxpayers. Oh, sorry about that. So this slide just compares year over year where we are. Again, the operating rate stays the same. Debt service is coming down by 2.5 cents. Match tax would be going up by half a penny. Tuition would be remaining flat. So the overall rate would be decreasing by 2 cents. The impact on our taxpayers for that rate decrease is anywhere from about $3 a year to about $35 a year, depending on the neighborhood that you live in and what your assessed value is. So that's what we can expect to see on the tax bills for our taxpayers. Are there any questions about any of the recommendations?
Any questions for Ms. Falcon? This is pretty much what she had anticipated on our last board meeting, if I remember correctly.
Yes, I did unfortunately, the minor capital improvement allocation increase that we were hoping for did not get past the General Assembly. There is not going to be an increase in our minor capital improvement allocation. So that did not factor in to the rate increase that you see before you.
Okay. Any questions, Mr. Carlson?
No questions. Thank you.
Mr. PQ?
No, sir, no questions.
Ms. Kennedy?
Everything was perfectly clear.
Mr. Schiller? Mr. Schiller, any questions? Guess not. Mr. McGee?
No, sir.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much, Ms. Falcon. With
Mr. Handy's on. Mr. Handy's on.
Yes.
Ron, I am terribly sorry I forgot you.
Oh,
Questions?
no questions.
All right.
Rick's live now.
There you go. Rick, any questions?
Yeah, I just realized I was on mute. One of the questions we asked, I think, at the last board meeting was, how much does 1 cent affect us monetarily, either direction, really? What numbers the 1 cent tax warrant that generates as far as financial resources for the district?
Right. So one penny on the tax rate right now is generating about $308,000.
Okay. Yeah, I missed that slide.
Right. So we're looking at it. So we're looking at about $617,000 roughly.
Yep.
All right. Ms. Faircloth, any questions?
No, sir.
All right. Okay. Since there's no further questions, do I hear a motion to approve the tax rate as presented by our CFO?
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved by Mr. Crossan, second by Mr. McGee to approve the tax rate as presented by Ms. Falcon. Questions? Hearing none, as I call your name, please signify by saying yay or nay. Mr. Handy,
Yay.
Mr. McGee,
Yay.
Mr. PQ,
Yay.
Ms. Kennedy,
Yay.
Mr. Crossan,
Yay.
Mr. Schiller,
Yay.
and myself, yay. The motion is passed unanimously. Ms. Falcon, thank you very much.
Thank
Sure
you. Thank you, Emily.
All right. With that being said, there's no further items that are on our agenda for this evening. Do I hear a motion to adjourn?
Motion to
I make a
adjourn.
motion to adjourn. I second it.
Been moved by Mr. McGee, seconded by Mr. Crossan to adjourn. All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, nay.
A little guy. He says aye.
All right. All right. Quick question, Jeff. We are meeting next Tuesday night at our next meeting, and it will be live and in color or virtual? Be live and in color.
We will
correct?
be in person, and the public will have the virtual option as they've been having since April.
Good.
And then at that meeting, you will all select officers, and then we will talk about the future meetings locations once the officers are set for the
Right.
21-22 school year.
Right. So we are at the Learning Center next Tuesday night.
That's correct.
All right. Okay. Thank you very much. And everybody have a good rest of this week, and we'll see everybody next week.
All
All
right.
right.
Thank
Good
you.
night,
Take care.
everyone.
All right.
Good night.
Be safe,
Good night.
Ted.